All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. In what was not a surprise move, Major League Baseball team owners voted unanimously to approve the move for the Athletics from Oakland to Las Vegas. Now, A's team owner John Fisher continues to cry poverty, but he's one step closer to getting his wish in regards to moving his A's out of Oakland. Honestly, for me, this has not smelled right for quite some time. I mean, I know that the A's have been trying to get a stadium in the Bay Area for quite some time, but you look at this situation right here, especially the last couple of years, it just has not seemed right. I mean, from an outsider's perspective, the money does appear to be there in the Bay Area for the A's, and honestly, looking at it, it looks like they're not getting as much of a sweetheart deal uh, from the uh, from the city of Las Vegas that they were going to get from Oakland. I mean, they were going to get more acres, more land to do a stadium. This is going to be a smaller stadium. They're going to a smaller media market on top of that, and it's just a slap in the face to the fans in Oakland because I've said it before and I will say it again. You got some rabid, and I mean that in a very good way, rabid sports fans in the Bay Area, very passionate about their teams, very passionate about the Oakland Athletics, and they've done that for quite some time now under adverse conditions. Because I mean, this team is nickel and dimed as far as talent goes on their roster. Excuse me, for quite some time, and folks will still show up to the Coliseum in numbers to support this club. Oakland has gotten to the postseason multiple times, and the fans come out there and support this team. And I think this is a huge slap in the face to the baseball fan in the Bay Area. Now, I look at this right here, and this is a situation where you have a team in the A's that the people in Oakland want. But I don't think I can say the same about the people of Las Vegas as far as wanting the A's. Cole, what's going on? You're saying not surprising that the A's are moving to Vegas. Fun fact, previously they had only moved out west, Philly to KC, KC to Oakland, their first move east. Yes, I actually am going to touch on that in a little bit. So definitely hang tight because I'm sure you probably want to have a couple more things to chime in on that in regards to that topic. But you're looking at it. It sounds like the people of Las Vegas are lukewarm at best as far as welcoming the A's to Vegas. The politicians there, the big power brokers are, but not the average Joe. And you look at it like this: MLB, they're trying to cash in on this Vegas bandwagon because we've seen the Golden Knights have success there. We've seen the Raiders, attendance wise, if you want to call it that, have success there. Two different scenarios. Number one, the Golden Knights were an expansion team that was added there, and they were able to build the fan base. And of course, it helps when they've had a lot of success very quickly and they went out there and won a Stanley Cup. Vegas with the Raiders is a little bit different because that stadium was built partially because John Fisher blocked, the Raiders trying to get a stadium at the Oakland Coliseum site. Then on top of that, going to an NFL game on a Sunday for a weekend is a little bit different. And then on top of that, I think the NFL and the Raiders together backed on, a lot of opposing teams, fan bases traveling out to Vegas for the weekend. And that's a little something different because if you got a game on a Sunday and you're coming from the East, or you're coming from the Midwest, okay, they won't have a problem catching a flight, going out to Vegas maybe on a Friday evening, maybe a Saturday afternoon, hanging out in the casino, taking in the show, doing whatever, and then watching the game Sunday. Because let's be realistic, a lot of people do that on the weekends regardless, okay? Or some people rather. This right here, I don't see a scenario where, John Q, whomever, is going to want to sit down at a baseball park, you know, in the middle of the week and watch the A's play. I just really don't see it happening. I mean, you got a proposed stadium for about 33,000 people. It's going to be the smallest venue in Major League Baseball. And just call me a Debbie Downer, whatever you want to say. I just don't see that scenario working. I feel like the A's ownership, if they had worked this hard, and I know that they're going to come out and say, well, we did all we could, which they didn't. But if they had worked this hard to keep the A's in the Bay Area, I think it would have gotten done. But honestly, John Fisher, for my money, is a real life version of Rachel Phelps from the movie Major League. He did everything in his power to give the folks of Oakland a crappy product. We saw that this team barely won 50 games this past season, had a whole bunch of a roster full of guys nobody knew about. Then on top of that, the people didn't show up, and rightfully so, because you haven't given them anything to be supportive of. So again, I think this is a bad look from the word go. And Cole, to your point, yeah, the A's did start off in Philadelphia. They then did move to Kansas City, but they've had so much history in Oakland for nearly 60 years now. And it's kind of like one of those things where we know that the Chargers originally started off in LA, played there for a year, then they moved to San Diego, and then they got uprooted and went back to LA a couple of years ago. Even with the Chiefs, they started in Dallas as the Texans in the AFL before moving to the AF to Kansas City rather. And honestly, at this point, if the Chiefs were to leave Kansas City, which is obviously is not happening, there would be a lot of outrage in that area. Nearly 60 years has been is a long time, and the A's. Granted, they didn't start in Oakland, but to me, I feel like they're rooted there, and they have so much history. 4 world championships there. You think about obviously the heyday of Charlie Finley's A's in the 1970s, Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, Sal Bando, Raleigh Fingers. I can go right down the list of so many great players that played on those teams. Of course, Tony La Russa's Bash Brother A's of the late 80s, Dave Henderson, Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, Bob Welch, Dave Stewart. We can go right down the list. Those are some darn good baseball teams in Oakland in the late 80s and the early 90s. And then, of course, the money ball of Billy Bean. But nonetheless, it's a great sports city. That's what Oakland brings to the table there. And you look at it right now, and obviously I've talked about this before, and I'll say it again. Feel very bad for the sports fans in Oakland because they've lost the Warriors back to San Francisco, and at least in that case, it's right over the bridge. You can still go see the Warriors play. But you've lost the Raiders to Vegas. Some of those, like Raiders fans, they're diehard fans. They'll travel because we know some people who travel from Northern California, excuse me, down to Southern California when the Raiders moved to LA. And then, of course, anytime the Raiders went to San Diego to play the Chargers, there was a litany of Raiders fans that made the trek down I 5. And I'm sure some of them are making the trek now periodically to go from Northern California to Vegas to watch the silver and black play. But this one right here, it just sits a little bit different. And it's truly unfortunate because honestly, I think all of this was unavoidable from MLB standpoint and some of the politicians out in Oakland as well. I think this was totally avoidable. And the A's, they still have some red tape to go through in order for them to get what they want in Vegas. It's a situation where there's still a lot of people there that are opposing this move. And the other thing is this: the A's lease with the Oakland Coliseum is up in 2024. The stadium is not expected to be ready until 2028. So where are the A's going to play then? I mean, basically, if you're John Fisher, you've put a glorified minor league product out on the field. So you're probably going to end up playing in a minor league park until your new venue is ready. But I'll tell you like this: I really do feel that if the A's are going to end up going to Vegas, and it more than likely looks like it's going to happen now, why not leave the A's history in Oakland and let the city of Oakland work together towards, putting together a proposal to have MLB bring an expansion team there, and then that would be the new version of the Oakland A's. There has to be a happy medium at this point. Obviously, the folks in Oakland. They have been loud and boisterous, with their sell shirts, showing up to the Oakland Coliseum saying sell the team. And of course, John Fisher, the A's team owner, he really hasn't had a lot to say to the people of Oakland. He's gone, publicly here and there and said, "Hey, don't blame me, blame them," which is, a slap in the face to the baseball fan in Oakland. But nonetheless, this whole situation has been avoidable from the word go, and I think this is another bad look for Major League Baseball, and I think it's another bad look for Rob Manfred. And of course, Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner, obviously he's there to be the buffer for the owners on situations like this, but just like on the heels of such a great Major League Baseball season that ended with the Texas Rangers winning their first World Series championship, and this, especially the postseason, which left a great taste in a lot of fans' mouths. Now to have this right after the season is over, it doesn't sit right with a lot of folks. And again, if you are a fan of baseball in the Bay Area, I think this is a slap in the face, not just for A's fans, but for Giants fans as well, because the rivalry, I think, if you want to call it that, between the A's and Giants gets overlooked by a lot of people. I know that the A's and Giants did meet, um, in the World Series once in 1989. Things are not the same right now because, of course, in those days, the Giants played in Candlestick. The A's were still playing in the Coliseum, but literally it was right across the bay. Of course, the Giants have their new venue, which is lovely. The A's, of course, they wanted to go to San Jose. They wanted to go to Fremont. Things that were, at least the San Jose part, that was blocked by the Giants several years ago. But again, it's just a scenario where I felt like this could have been a lot better if everybody had been on the same page, and it clearly has not been that way. And it's just, not to sound like a broken record, but it's just unfortunate for the sports fans in Oakland. So again, there is still some red tape for the A's to go through as an organization to fully get what they want out of Las Vegas. Will it happen? I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, I think at some point, maybe a happy median could be reached at this point. Maybe, okay, if the team leaves, but they leave the team history in Oakland, that could be a possibility going forward. I think that the city of Oakland is going to work real hard right now to try to put a proposal together for Major League Baseball at the very least to have an expansion team there, because there were and there still are people in Oakland in that area that really do want John Fisher to sell the team. There's people there that would be willing to buy the team to keep it in Oakland, work with the city on getting a new stadium, and going forward from there. I doubt that's going to happen at this point, but maybe those same people can be power brokers behind returning baseball to Oakland. Listen, once upon a time, Cole, you're going back many generations. As a sports historian, I remember reading uh, how disheartened the people in New York were when both the Giants and Dodgers left Brooklyn and Manhattan, respectively, to go to the West Coast. And you had folks in the New York area that worked hard to return National League Baseball to the city of New York. And of course, the Mets were indoctrinated into Major League Baseball back in 1962. And of course, the Mets have developed a strong fan base in the New York area since then. So maybe that could be another possibility for the folks of Oakland. We got to wait and see. But at the end of the day, you kind of saw this coming from a mile away. It's still a dark day for the sports fans in the Bay Area. And like I said, maybe, excuse me, just maybe some type of resolution could happen at the very least. Maybe, the A's history stays in Oakland. Maybe they get an expansion team. But John Fisher, Rob Manfred, and company, they really haven't been on board as far as keeping the A's in Oakland. You can say whatever you want. John Fisher's going to get his new stadium in Vegas, possibly. MLB is going to have another crowning jewel, if you will. But at the end of the day, this is a scenario where there are no winners. Beloved sports fans in the Bay Area, tough day for them, tough day for baseball, tough day for sports in general, especially if you're in the Bay Area. So let's see what's next for this unfortunate situation that's going on with the Athletics, the city of Oakland, and the city of Las Vegas. But at the end of the day, it's sports, it's a business. And this is what happens when a team owner doesn't get what he or she feels that they want and deserve from one city because they know there's going to be another city that's going to be willing to do what they want. And it's just a sad day for the folks in Oakland. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. Cole, definitely appreciate you chiming in. There's going to be plenty of baseball stuff to be talking about as the hot stove is heating up, and I got plenty to talk about in the upcoming weeks in regards to baseball. So definitely appreciate the support and definitely stay tuned. And for all you other folks out there as well, thanks again for tuning in and supporting 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Once again, I'm William Martin. I'm signing off and saying thanks again and have yourselves a wonderful day. Be well, everybody.